Hi
There is a
everyone,
moment
and
just
welcome to
before
the Sleepy
dawn when the world
Scientist.
holds its
I'm really
breath.
happy you're
The
here.
wind stills,
Tonight,
the
we're
leaves
going to
stop
go on a
rustling, and
calm
the
and
birds
quiet
have
trip
not
to
yet
learn
sung
something
their morning
amazing.
hymn.
So get
In that
comfy, take
hush,
a
in that
deep breath,
near-perfect
and let's
pause,
enjoy
something
this
strange
peaceful science
lingers.
story together.
Though it seems as if nothing
Before
is
we start,
happening,
tell
the
me in the
air is
comments,
alive with
where are you
invisible
watching
motion.
from and what
This
time is
is
it for
where
you
our
right now?
story
If you like
begins,
relaxing
not in
science
noise, but
videos,
in the shape
don't
of
forget to tap the
stillness.
like button. Now
Imagine the
let's
air,
begin.
quiet and calm, yet woven with the potential of sound. Sound, after all, is not a thing but a change, a wave, a trembling, a ripple through the air. And silence. Silence is simply the waiting. The world is never truly silent. Even in the stillest caves or the deepest chambers built to block all echoes, a person will hear their own body speaking. The rush of blood, the beat of a heart, the sigh of breath. Sound hides in these places like a child under a blanket, not gone, just unseen. Long before humans gave it names, sound was already shaping the world. When lightning cracked ancient skies, its echo taught early creatures to tremble. When trees snapped in storms, that warning sound helped the forest learn fear. Over time, sound became memory. It is a memory that doesn't live in the mind but in the body, in the nerves, in the reflexes. Even now, you might startle when you hear a loud noise, even if you're safe, because your ancestors once weren't. But there's more to sound than survival. It is also how we learn love. A lullaby, softly sung, tells a baby they are safe. A whispered secret passed from ear to ear creates bonds no paper ever could. Sound carries comfort, but in a way that is so easily forgotten when it hides behind silence. In scientific terms, sound is vibration, tiny shifts in pressure that move outward from a source in all directions. These vibrations press into your eardrums, and your brain, in a miraculous dance of biology and physics, turns those pulses into meaning. But what if you could see sound instead of hearing it? Drop a pebble into a pond and watch the ripples. That is what sound looks like. The pebble is your voice and the water is the air. The ripples are your words traveling outward, touching everything they pass. The air around you is not still. It is a field of endless tiny movements, invisible and gentle, shaped by every whisper, every breath, every vibration that ever was. This is why silence is never truly empty. It is filled with memory and potential. It is the space between words, the pause between heartbeats, the quiet that lets you feel the texture of the world. Musicians say that silence is what gives shape to music. It is the space that lets the notes breathe. Without it, a song would be just noise. And so, in this way, silence is not the opposite of sound, but its partner. The two are braided together, one giving meaning to the other. And when sound hides in silence, it is not lost. It is only waiting for the right moment to return. Even in the vast emptiness of space, where there is no air to carry sound, vibrations still ripple. Stars throb and quiver with energy. Planets hum with the gravity of their orbits. Black holes sing in frequencies too deep for ears, too slow for hearts. Astronomers record these tremblings not with microphones but with sensors that translate motion into signals. The universe, they say, is full of songs that cannot be heard, songs we can only feel, measure, imagine. It is as if the cosmos itself whispers to us in a language of movement, one that must be translated by patience and science. And perhaps, in the quiet spaces of your mind, you too can hear it if you truly listen, not with your ears but with the stillness inside you. When you close your eyes and listen to nothing, your brain does not shut down. Instead, it searches. It reaches into the quiet for pattern, for pulse, for rhythm. This is why silence can feel loud. It is filled with the noise of the self. Some say the brain plays tricks in this state, filling the void with imagined tones or phantom echoes. But maybe it's not a trick at all. Maybe it's a reminder that you are never truly separate from sound, that your body, your brain, your very being is a chamber where vibrations live, echo, and hide. In this way, silence becomes the mirror of sound. And so the shape of stillness is not flat or lifeless. It is textured with possibility. It curves and stretches like a sleeping breath. It holds echoes of all that was said and all that might be spoken. Next time you sit in silence, notice how your skin still feels the world, how a deep quiet wraps around you like soft cloth. Sound is not gone in those moments. It is simply folded, like a letter waiting to be read. Let's drift deeper into the silence now, not as a void, but as a living fabric. You can almost feel it, like the quiet tension that holds a spider's web in place before it trembles. That's what silence really is, not an absence, but a readiness. A calm surface stretched tight over something waiting to move. In the world of nature, silence is not passive. It's an active moment of attention. Animals do not just listen, they tune in. A deer in the woods stops moving not to rest, but to hear better. Its body becomes an antenna for the forest. The wind shifts, a branch creaks, and in that silence, knowledge arrives. The world speaks quietly, and those who learn to hear it begin to understand that silence is full of messages. We've only forgotten how to read them. Even the tiniest creatures speak in the quietest of ways. Moths flutter with ultrasonic whispers. Elephants murmur in deep rumbles that travel through the ground. Fish hum and click beneath the sea. These sounds often hide beneath the threshold of human hearing, but they are still there, shaping behaviors, guiding lives. And in between them, there are long stretches of silence. These pauses are not empty. They are space for response, for safety, for reflection. Without silence, these messages would blur and vanish. In this way, silence becomes part of the communication itself. Just as the space between notes gives music its grace, the space between sounds gives meaning to life. Inside the human body, silence is an illusion. Every cell vibrates. Your heart speaks in rhythmic thumps, your lungs in soft sighs. Even your bones carry resonance. Medical scientists once discovered that certain frequencies can actually affect the body's healing. Low tones, similar to the sounds of distant thunder or ocean waves, can slow the heartbeat, ease the mind. In hospitals, machines hum and beep. But beyond the artificial sounds, the body's own language hums too. Some researchers believe that bones may act like internal tuning forks, helping the body sense vibrations even when the ears cannot. You are, in this way, an instrument constantly playing a quiet song of your own being. Let's imagine this. In a desert far from cities and machines, you sit on the earth as night falls. The silence around you feels enormous. But if you truly listen, you will notice things. The low breath of wind pushing through dry grasses, the distant rustle of a lizard, the slow cooling of rocks under a velvet sky. This is not stillness. This is the earth whispering in its native tongue. Geologists have discovered that the planet itself hums. There is a natural vibration that flows through the crust of the earth, not caused by earthquakes or wind, but by ocean waves, atmospheric pressure, and even human activity. This hum is ever present, surrounding us like a silent tide. We cannot hear it with our ears, but we can detect it with sensitive instruments. It is as if the earth breathes in a rhythm so slow and so deep, only silence can carry its sound. In ancient times, humans were more attuned to these soft messages. They built temples that echoed certain tones. They sang in caves to awaken the walls. Some sacred sites were chosen not just for their beauty but for their acoustics. These people believed sound and silence were tools of healing and wonder. In many traditions, silence was a doorway to the divine. Monks meditated in quiet halls. Sufis spun into stillness. Silence was not a punishment, it was a path. A place where the self could dissolve and hear something greater than thought. Even today, in moments of deep silence, people often feel a presence, a subtle awareness that something unseen is near. Science may not yet explain this, but perhaps not all silence is measurable. Meanwhile, modern life has become crowded with sound. Machines hum, alerts chime, voices fill the air. True silence is rare. Cities never sleep. Even the night glows faintly with electric noise. This constant presence of sound can numb us. The brain, overstimulated, begins to tune things out, but the silence still waits. Studies have shown that even a few minutes of deep quiet can lower stress, sharpen memory, and boost creativity. Some scientists now believe silence is essential to brain health. It's not just a luxury, it's a need. And so, in this age of noise, learning to return to silence is not withdrawal, it is repair. Sound and silence form a cycle like the ocean's waves. Each one gives rise to the other. In physics, sound is created by energy but shaped by stillness. Without resistance, a vibration would go on forever, never heard, never formed. It is the quiet space around the vibration that allows it to become sound. Just as a painter needs canvas, just as stars need the blackness of space to shine, sound needs silence to be born. Every whisper, every song, every heartbeat rides on a river of quiet. Even a shout must pass through stillness to be heard. Some of the most powerful moments in life are marked not by sound but by silence. The pause after bad news, the breath before saying "I love you," the long quiet at the end of a lullaby. In these moments, silence does not mean nothing is happening. It means everything is happening softly inside. Our brains remember these moments because they are shaped like a listening space. They invite emotion to rise, not in volume but in depth. When you sit in a silent room, your thoughts echo louder. You begin to notice what lives beneath the surface. This is not emptiness, it is attention. And so, the further we travel into the idea of silence, the more we find it filled with hidden sound. Not the kind that startles or commands, but the kind that holds you gently, like fog holding a forest, like snow muffling the world into a hush. There is sound in the flutter of a moth's wings, in the falling of ash, in the breath of a sleeping child. These are the quietest sounds of all, and yet they matter. They remind us that listening is not just something we do with our ears. It is something we do with our whole being. Now imagine a world where every sound you make leaves behind a footprint, not in dirt, not in snow, but in the fabric of silence itself. This is not fantasy. In certain caves, the air holds echoes for seconds, sometimes longer. A single word can bounce gently from wall to wall, whispering again and again as if it refuses to vanish. In the digital world, every sound we record, every song, every voice, every ambient hum, is stored, layered in time, waiting to be heard again. But beyond physical recordings, beyond echoes and waves, there is a more poetic truth, that silence remembers. It does not erase what came before. It holds it lightly, like a handprint pressed into soft earth just beneath the surface. Sound and silence are more than opposites. They are a single ribbon twisting through time. Every life on earth is born into sound, the heartbeat in the womb, the voices in the room, the world already humming by the time we open our eyes. But we are also born into silence. The moments before breath, the stillness after cries, the hush between words. We grow between these two states, always passing back and forth. And though we often fear silence, associating it with loneliness or endings, it is also where beginnings form. Before every decision, there is a pause. Before every song, a breath. Before every discovery, a stillness in the mind. Silence is not absence. It is preparation. It is where meaning gathers itself before it leaps forward into sound. The brain itself, as it thinks, as it dreams, creates tiny internal pulses. Even in deep meditation, it does not stop moving. And yet, those who have trained themselves to enter states of profound silence report something unusual. They describe a space that feels wider than thought, deeper than sound. Some call it peace. Others call it presence. Scientists call it default mode deactivation, the calming of internal noise. But names do not change what it is. A state where you are not reacting, not chasing, not performing, only being. In this place, the body is quiet, the breath slows, and time itself feels soft. Here, silence becomes something you wear like a cloak. It doesn't shut out the world, it invites it in more gently. This is why some of the most profound experiences in life happen in silence. Standing at the edge of a cliff, watching the horizon swallow the sun. Sitting beside someone you love, saying nothing, yet sharing everything. Walking in falling snow. Listening to a forest wake up at dawn. These moments stay with us not because of what was said, but because of what was felt. The absence of noise allows the fullness of being to arrive. And the science behind it agrees. Quiet allows the nervous system to rest, the brain to form deeper memories, the mind to wander into creative thought. Silence gives space for the soul to stretch. Let's return to sound one last time, not the sound of traffic or alarms, but the gentle sounds the world makes when it thinks we're not listening. The sound of wind weaving through tall grass, the distant hoot of an owl, the crackling breath of a fire, the creak of wood as it settles in a sleeping house. These are not loud sounds. They are gentle, subtle, almost shy. And they only appear when silence holds the space open. You cannot chase these sounds. You must invite them. And to invite them, you must become silent yourself. Your body knows this. When you are still, your senses sharpen. You begin to feel vibrations in your chest, your skin, even your teeth. Your bones become instruments, your breath a metronome. The silence that surrounds you becomes a soft listener, echoing back your heartbeat, your warmth, your presence. In this way, you become part of the world's hidden conversation. Not shouting, not even speaking, just being. Even machines are beginning to learn from this. Scientists are designing tools that detect faint vibrations in places humans cannot go. Tiny sensors that listen to the creaking of glaciers, the trembling of distant planets, the sigh of atoms. These tools don't just measure, they attend. They sit quietly, like monks in stone temples, waiting for the world to reveal its secrets. And the secrets do come, but only in silence. Perhaps this is the greatest lesson sound has to offer, that it is shaped by what surrounds it. Without quiet, it cannot grow. Without stillness, it cannot land. In every orchestra, the conductor raises a hand not just to begin the music, but to still the room first. In every conversation, there must be a moment when one person listens. In every heart, there must be silence before love can echo. When sound hides in silence, it is not lost. It is only resting, only gathering, only waiting. Just like the stars in the daytime sky, always there, just not yet visible. When the time is right, it returns. A whisper, a breath, a note carried on wind. And when it does, we remember that we were never truly alone. The silence was never empty. It was always full of meaning, full of waiting, full of sound. There is a strange truth hidden inside you, one that moves without your permission, one that listens even when your ears are still. It's the sound your bones remember. Deep within, beneath muscle and blood and silence, your skeleton is always humming. You don't hear it, but it's there, a quiet resonance that keeps rhythm with your life. When you walk, your bones respond with gentle pressure. When you speak, your skull vibrates with your own voice. When music surrounds you, your ribs and spine pick up its pulse. The body doesn't just carry sound, it absorbs it, reflects it, and remembers it. Scientists call this bone conduction, a phenomenon where sound bypasses your ears entirely and travels through your bones. But before it had a name, it was simply a mystery, a whisper in the body, a vibration of the self. Let's begin not with the ears, but with the feeling of sound. Imagine you are sitting beside a deep drum. It is silent at first, then someone strikes it. You feel the vibration in your chest before your ears catch the rhythm. That pulse doesn't just touch your skin, it moves into you, travels through your skeleton like wind through hollow wood. The drum becomes part of you and you become part of its music. This is not metaphor, this is physics. Sound is pressure and pressure needs a path. Bones are excellent paths. They carry vibration more efficiently than air. This is why you can still hear your voice even if you plug your ears. You're not just hearing it through your head, you're feeling it in your bones. Long before modern science explained this, ancient people knew it. Some cultures placed their heads to the ground to hear approaching footsteps. Others pressed wooden instruments to their chests to feel the music resonate more deeply. These weren't tricks. They were wisdoms of the body. Even today, those who lose their hearing often report that they can still sense sound, not through ears, but through touch and bone. The world speaks in more ways than one, and our bodies have always known how to listen, even when the ears fall silent. In the quiet of sleep, your body still vibrates. The breath hums softly, the heart drums its low rhythm. Each of these tiny sounds ripples through bone and tissue, a private concert played for no audience but yourself. Scientists have learned that our bones are not static. They are not dead. They are alive with cells that respond to pressure, to stress, and even to sound. Some researchers believe that bones might use vibration as a way to strengthen or adapt. In this view, your skeleton is not just a frame, it's a sensor, a quiet, listening structure that echoes with life. Now think of the skull, the fragile box that holds your thoughts. It is more than a helmet, it is an amplifier. When you speak, your voice echoes through your skull first. This is why you sound different to yourself than to others. What you hear inside is not just sound, it is resonance. A private, interior music that no one else experiences. It's why recordings of your voice feel foreign. You are used to the song your bones sing back to you, not the flat version the air carries. This sense of internal resonance runs deeper than you think. Musicians sometimes say they feel the note more than hear it. Singers place their hands on their throats, chests, and even skulls to feel the vibration. Some blind people use the tapping of a cane not just to hear but to feel the feedback in their hands and arms. It's not magic, it's anatomy. The skeleton is a resonating chamber like the wooden body of a violin. It holds sound, plays it back, and shapes its tone. And what about memory? Some people say that sound triggers memories more powerfully than sight. A few notes of an old song and you are back in a childhood room or walking beside someone long gone. But it may be more than just the sound, it may be the feeling of it. The way your body once held that music. The way your chest lifted with laughter. The way your bones shivered in sorrow. These sensations are stored not just in thought, but in the quiet recordings your body keeps. You are a living archive, a soft museum of every sound that has ever touched you. Imagine standing in a cathedral, the kind with high ceilings and stone walls. When someone sings, the sound doesn't just fill the air, it fills you. You feel the notes in your ribs, in your throat, in the base of your spine. That's not just because of acoustics, it's because you are part of the space. You are made of the same materials, calcium, stone, echo. In that moment, you are not separate from sound. You are the instrument it chooses to play. In this way, the story of sound becomes deeply personal. It is not just what you hear, it is what you carry. A whisper travels through your bones and leaves an imprint. A song vibrates your ribs and becomes part of how you breathe. A sudden shout might make your spine flinch, long before your brain understands why. This is the language of bone. A silent conversation with vibration, carried on day and night, whether you listen or not. So next time you feel a sound, instead of hearing it, pause. Let your body answer. Let your bones remember. They have heard more than you know. Let's drift further now, into the hidden corners of the body where sound leaves no trace you can see but every fiber still remembers. Beneath your skin, behind the silence of your breath, your bones are in quiet conversation with the world. They speak in pulses. They respond in tremors. Each step you take sends a wave of pressure up through your heels, into your legs, your spine, your skull. That pressure is a kind of sound, a message moving through solid matter. While ears are tuned to air, bones are tuned to touch. And in the orchestra of the body, they are the string instruments, humming with tension, singing without voice. Scientists have studied this hidden symphony. Bone conduction is not just a curiosity, it's a vital part of how we sense the world. In certain animals, like whales and elephants, low-frequency sounds travel through the ground or water, entering their bodies through bone rather than ear. These creatures live in worlds of resonance. Their bones act like sonar dishes, catching signals we can't even imagine. And humans, we do it too, though more quietly. When you lay your head on a wooden floor, you might hear footsteps from far away, not through air but through vibration. When you rest against someone's chest, you feel their voice as much as you hear it. These are ancient forms of knowing, older than language. Your bones, like tuning forks, carry this memory forward. They remember the vibrations of your mother's voice in the womb. They remember the bass of your first concert. They remember the rhythm of waves as you stood barefoot by the sea. These impressions are not stored as thoughts. They are stored as sensation. Your body, after all, is always listening, even when your mind forgets. This is why some moments feel familiar without explanation. A certain hum, a sudden hush, and something in your bones recognizes the pattern. It is not déjà vu, it is physical memory. Let's imagine this in a different way. Picture a bell made of glass, fragile, hollow, clear. When struck, it rings with a purity that fills the air. But that sound is only part of the story. Touch the bell and you'll feel it vibrating long after the sound has faded. Your bones are like that. They don't just pass vibration, they hold it. Some researchers believe that this stored energy may even influence how bone cells behave. There is evidence that certain frequencies can encourage bone growth or ease pain or affect healing. The body is not just passive, it responds, shapes itself, learns through resonance. Musicians have long understood this. A violin pressed against a collarbone, a cello's body resting between knees, a piano's keys sending subtle tremors through the fingertips. These are not just tools, they are bridges, ways to feel music, not just hear it. Blind musicians, in particular, often describe a deeper sense of sound. They feel the space through echo, vibration, and time. To them, a room is not empty. It is alive with shape and sound, even if their ears cannot catch every note. They listen with their bones, and the world answers. Now consider those who live without hearing at all. For the deaf, the world of sound is not lost, it is transformed. Vibrations become language, hands move in rhythm, eyes become attuned to tiny shifts. Subwoofers in floors, balloons held to faces, fingertips pressed to glass, all are methods of listening without ears. The skeleton remains a faithful guide. It carries messages to the mind in pathways few notice. In these lives, silence is not absence. It is filled with texture, with rhythm, with deep understanding. And yet in modern life we rarely honor this inner sensing. We surround ourselves with loudness, machines, engines, alarms. Our bones are constantly shaken, jarred, overloaded. The body tries to listen, but the noise is too thick. We forget the quiet messages, the subtle invitations. But step away into nature, into stillness, and the bones begin to sing again. A bird's wing flutters overhead. A branch shifts. The ground hums with the far-off thunder. You might not hear it, but your body does. You stand more still. You feel more present. You have entered the ancient language of vibration, one your ancestors knew well. This connection between sound and touch is not just poetic. It is measurable. Scientists have placed sensors on bones to detect patterns in how they respond to low-frequency sounds. In some studies, patients with bone damage recovered more quickly when exposed to carefully tuned vibrations. In others, musicians trained to feel sound through touch developed better pitch recognition than those trained by ear alone. The body learns in more ways than we understand. And in every case, bones are the silent teachers. In sacred spaces, this idea takes root as well. Many religious rituals include deep chants, slow drums, ringing bowls. These are not accidental. Their frequencies match the rhythm of the body. They are meant to be felt, not just heard. Monks who chant for hours often describe a sense of merging with sound. They no longer speak it, they become it. Their chests vibrate, their skulls echo. Their bones become chambers of prayer. In these moments, sound is no longer a tool, it is a path. And this, perhaps, is the quiet truth we've been circling. Your skeleton is not just structure. It is memory, music, meaning. It carries your past, shapes your present, and holds the possibility of listening in its silent marrow. You don't have to hear sound to know it. You only have to feel, to become still, to let the whisper rise from within like a soft hum echoing in the bones. There are moments when silence speaks more clearly than words, when the body listens with a depth that ears alone could never reach. In those moments, your bones awaken to something ancient, something hidden in the very structure of who you are. Every bone in your body has been shaped by vibration, not just by gravity or time, but by the subtle influence of sound, felt but not heard. This final section is not just about what sound does to bones, but what bones become because of it. You are, in a quiet and literal way, a musical instrument. And like all instruments, you are shaped not only by what you play, but by what you've listened to in the stillness. In the earliest stages of life, before breath, before speech, the fetal skeleton begins to form while bathed in a liquid world filled with muffled vibrations. The mother's heartbeat, her voice, the world beyond her skin, all these pass through amniotic fluid, through soft tissue, and into the forming bones of the unborn. Before a baby sees light, before it even draws its first breath, it knows rhythm. It knows pulse. And the body remembers. This early exposure is not erased, it becomes a blueprint. Infants recognize familiar voices and are comforted by rhythms they have never seen, only felt. The skeleton, even in its youngest form, has already begun its lifelong relationship with sound. As we grow, this relationship deepens. In moments of joy, we dance, not because someone taught us, but because the body longs to move with rhythm. In sorrow, we seek quiet places not because they are empty, but because they allow the vibrations inside us to settle. These instincts are echoes of bone memory. They are not habits of the mind, they are songs of the self. We sway to music that touches our past. We weep at sounds that touch something we thought we had forgotten. All the while, our skeleton hums gently beneath it all, vibrating in a language no one taught us, but that we've always known. In later years, as bones grow brittle, they still remember the weight of music. Elderly people often report feeling music more than hearing it. Some can no longer distinguish lyrics, but they tap their feet to the rhythm. They hum melodies from decades ago, not from memory, but from something deeper. Their bones remember the pattern. Music therapy for Alzheimer's and dementia patients shows this truth in practice. Patients who cannot speak often begin to sway, sing, or respond when music from their past is played. These are not cognitive tricks. These are reminders that the body holds on when the mind lets go. In the fragile twilight of life, sound still finds its way in, not through ears but through skin, through breath, through bone. And then there is death, the final silence. Yet even here the story is not over. Archaeologists have found that bones hold echoes of the life lived. In the microscopic structure of bone, they see stress, injury, rhythm, healing. They read stories in the bends and curves, in the thickness of certain places, in the places where pressure once passed again and again. The body is a journal of sound and silence, one that lasts long after voice is gone. In some ways, our skeletons speak long after we stop breathing. They do not sing, but they whisper. They tell the shape of a life once lived in vibration. Now imagine sitting in absolute quiet. No hum of machines, no ticking clock, no voices, just the hush of the room and the steady rhythm of your breath. In that quiet, you become aware of something else, something moving ever so gently within you. It may be the faint echo of a heartbeat in your chest. It may be the subtle pulse in your fingertips. It may be the feeling of your feet resting on the floor, grounding you. In that moment, you are not just in silence, you are filled with it. And in that silence, your bones are speaking, not in language, not in thought, but in a kind of presence that cannot be faked, a stillness that hums with life. The next time you listen to a song, notice how your body responds. Not just your ears, but your chest, your spine, your legs. The way a beat makes you lean forward. The way a note makes your neck tingle. The way a vibration seems to settle deep inside your back. These are not accidents. These are reminders. You were designed to feel the world. You were born into rhythm. And long after your ears grow tired, long after your memory fades, your bones will still be listening. The whisper in your bones is not loud. It does not shout. It waits. It watches. It listens. It sings in stillness. In that whisper lives everything you've ever felt but never found the words to say. It is the lullaby beneath your thoughts, the hum behind your silence, the rhythm of being alive. It is you, quietly echoing the sound of the world. Time does not tick. Not really. That sound, the tick-tock of clocks, is something humans made to comfort themselves, to count what cannot be held. In truth, time flows quietly like wind through tall grass or shadows moving across a room. It has no voice of its own, but it touches everything, presses into every second of every life. Beneath the noise of the world, beneath the whir of machines and the chatter of minds, time moves with a quiet pulse. Not loud, not sudden, but steady, and everywhere. Imagine a sunflower turning slowly toward the light. No bells chime to mark its motion. No alarm sounds to remind it when to shift. And yet it does, softly, faithfully, without needing to be told. Plants, though rooted in soil and silence, keep time with a quiet kind of intelligence. They know when to bloom, when to sleep, when to grow tall, and when to curl inward. This rhythm is not learned, it is felt. Deep inside each cell, tiny biological clocks tick without sound. Scientists call this the circadian rhythm. But long before the term existed, the Earth itself taught these patterns, whispering through light and dark, through warmth and cold, through the silent signals of nature. Inside your body, too, the pulse of time is always present. You feel it in the rise and fall of your breath, in the quiet drum of your heartbeat, in the slow shift of energy between morning and night. Even your skin listens to time. It repairs itself while you sleep. It grows new cells at dawn. Every organ has its schedule. Your liver works differently in the evening than it does at noon. Your brain clears waste while you dream. These changes happen silently, without instruction, like a dance choreographed by something unseen. Time does not knock. It enters gently, and your body opens the door. Let's step deeper into this invisible rhythm. There are creatures on Earth who follow clocks older than any sunrise. Arctic terns travel thousands of miles across the globe in tune with seasonal shifts. Sea turtles, born on a beach, return decades later to lay their eggs on the same shore, guided by ancient timing stored not in maps, but in their bones. Even trees keep time, not just by season but by day. Some trees open their leaves to the sun each morning and close them again at dusk. They do not watch the sky, they feel its rhythm, they move with the breath of the planet. And still time remains invisible. You cannot touch it, hold it, stop it, but you can feel its presence in the quietest places. A candle melting in a still room, a shadow stretching across a wall, the way silence deepens as night approaches. All these are gentle reminders that time is not measured in seconds but in changes, soft, slow, and constant. This is the true pulse of time, the one you feel in your bones, not the one you read on a clock. In the world of physics, time is not a straight line. It bends and curves with gravity. It stretches near black holes. It slows down when we move faster. Scientists measure time with atomic clocks so precise they lose only a second every million years. Yet even with all this precision, time's essence remains mysterious. What is it really? A dimension, a flow, a memory of motion? No one can say for sure. And perhaps that's why it feels so soft, so dreamlike. Because time is not just outside us, it is inside too, in our memories, in our breath, in the quiet way we grow. The brain senses time, but not like it senses sound or light. There is no single organ for time. Instead, time is built from change, how long a task takes, how fast a leaf falls, how slow a wound heals. You notice it not because it speaks, but because everything else does. A song ends, a sun sets, a child grows. These shifts form your sense of time. And they happen so gently they often go unnoticed until you stop and see how much has moved. Even in silence, time pulses. Monks in monasteries live by its rhythm, not by ticking clocks but by the quiet call to prayer, the steady breath of meditation, the changing of light through stained glass. For them, time is not a race but a ritual, something sacred, something soft. And when you strip away the noise of modern life, the alerts, the alarms, the deadlines, you begin to hear that pulse again, not loud, not urgent, just present. This is the quiet pulse of time, not something to chase, not something to fear, but something to feel, like the soft press of water against your skin in a still lake. It is with you when you rise. It is with you when you sleep. It is in the slow curl of a fern, the slow blink of a cat in the sun, the slow beat of a resting heart. Time is always here, moving softly like breath. And if you listen, not with your ears but with your presence, you can feel it. Let's drift deeper into this quiet pulse that guides all things, a rhythm so gentle it rarely calls attention to itself. The ticking of clocks may echo in our minds, but the true rhythm of time is closer to a whisper, like the fluttering of a moth's wings in the dark. It is not counted in numbers, but in changes that settle slowly over everything, like dust, like light, like sleep. The world is always shifting, and though we do not always see it, the passage of time is everywhere. You can feel it in the way old photographs fade. You can feel it in how your hands remember shapes they haven't touched in years. Even the stones beneath your feet have felt the weight of time. They do not speak, but they remember. They are carved by wind, by rain, by silence. They are shaped not by hours, but by patience. Inside the body, time is a tide. Cells divide, heal, age. Your blood carries traces of the past, memories of stress, of joy, of quiet. Your DNA is a soft map of everything that came before you, written not in ink but in time. Some of these changes happen slowly, quietly. Hair grays without a sound, muscles soften, bones thin. These are not failures, they are the poetry of age, the body's silent way of saying, I was here, I changed, I lived. And deep within you, clocks are ticking, not just one but many. The master clock in the brain, yes, but also clocks in the heart, the liver, the skin. They keep time in chemical whispers, in the rising and falling of hormones, in the shift from alertness to rest. Even your dreams are shaped by these cycles. You do not simply sleep. You travel through time in slow waves, each phase carrying its own silent message. Nature, too, moves with this quiet pulse. The tide does not rush, it swells. The moon does not leap, it glides. Flowers open not because a bell rings, but because the sun tells them it is time. Birds do not need calendars to migrate. They carry the memory of time in their feathers, in their bones. Some animals sleep through entire seasons. Others wake only when the air changes. These are not guesses. These are conversations with time, wordless, effortless, true. Even coral reefs grow in rings, one layer at a time. And trees are libraries of time. Each ring beneath their bark is a silent record of a year lived, some thick, some thin, some scarred by fire or drought. A tree holds 100 years of silence, marked not by what it said, but by how it stood still. Science has begun to understand this more deeply. In laboratories, researchers observe how time affects molecules. Some proteins fold and unfold in predictable rhythms. Some genes switch on and off with the changing of day to night. There are even studies that show how time feels different depending on what you're doing. Moments of fear stretch like shadows. Moments of joy pass in a blink. This isn't imagination. It's the brain's response to emotion, to focus, to rhythm. And when you are truly present, when your mind is quiet, time feels slower, not because it is, but because you have finally matched its pace. We often talk about time as something we spend, save, or waste. But what if time is not a thing at all? What if it is a space? A field we move through gently, shaped by attention. The more present we are, the deeper we sink into it. Time becomes thick, full, rich. And the less we notice it, the faster it seems to slip away. This is why silence can stretch a moment wide open, why a minute of stillness can feel eternal. In those moments, you are not rushing through time. You are sitting inside it. Some traditions have long embraced this view. In Japanese culture, the concept of ma refers to the space between things, the pause that gives meaning to sound, the silence that shapes experience. In music, it is not the note that moves you, but the breath before it. In poetry, it is the white space that lets the words echo. Time, in this sense, is not a ruler. It is a rhythm, a waiting, a softness that wraps around each action, giving it shape. And in this rhythm, healing happens. The body does not heal instantly, it heals in time. A cut closes, a bruise fades, grief softens. The passage of time is not just a marker, it is a medicine. When we rush, we forget this. We try to push time to control it, but the truth is time does not obey us. It moves through us, not for us. And when we stop resisting it, when we breathe with it, life feels less like a race and more like a song. A slow, steady lullaby that has been playing since the beginning. So sit quietly for a moment, feel the stillness in the room. Let your heartbeat remind you that time is here. Not loud, not urgent, just steady, just soft. You are not running out of time, you are moving with it, like leaves floating down a stream, like shadows dancing across the floor, like stars circling above, silent and slow. You are not late. You are exactly where you are meant to be in the quiet pulse of time. Now let us step softly into the closing stillness of this journey through time. Not the loud, relentless time of deadlines and alarms, but the deeper current, the quiet pulse beneath everything. It is the rhythm that shapes lives without asking permission, that brushes the edges of everything we love, everything we lose. It does not shout. It does not pause. And yet it feels so gentle, so patient, that we often forget it is even there, until we look back and realize how much it changed. In this final silence, we do not race time. We sit beside it, we breathe with it. Think of an old photograph. The colors have softened, the faces are younger. The background is a little blurry, a little faded, but when you look at it, something in your chest stirs. You remember not just the day, but how the air felt, how your body moved, how time seemed to stretch or slow. That moment is gone, but your body remembers. Your bones remember. Your breath, for just a second, matches the rhythm of then. This is the soft magic of time. It cannot be touched, but it touches you. It leaves no fingerprints, but it leaves imprints everywhere. in the lines around your eyes, in the quiet way you hold sorrow, in the warmth you feel when you remember joy. Even the stars keep time. Their light reaches us from the past, crossing millions of years of space to touch our eyes. A star you see tonight might have died long ago, its echo just arriving now. And in that light, time is layered, ancient moments traveling through silence, telling stories without words. Astronomers call this light years, but poets might call it memory. The night sky, full of quiet voices from long ago, reminds us that time does not forget. It simply carries everything forward, gently, faithfully. Your own body holds echoes too, scars that speak of healing, muscles that remember movement, eyes that once held tears. None of this is static. You are always becoming, always changing. Even when you feel still, your cells are shifting. Your heart is learning, your thoughts are flowing. Time does not always ask you to do more. Sometimes it only asks you to notice, to witness, to rest. And in those quiet moments, watching a shadow stretch, feeling your breath rise and fall, you are not wasting time. You are living it. Across cultures, across centuries, people have tried to mark time with ceremony. The lighting of candles, the ringing of bells, the turning of prayer beads, these are not just rituals. They are ways to feel time, to honor it, to touch its shape. And often they are done in silence, because silence is where time becomes real. When the world grows quiet, the heartbeat of time becomes clearer, not rushed, not rigid, but soft, like snow falling, like leaves drifting down, like a hush that fills a sacred room. Even death, the greatest silence, is shaped by time. We fear it not just because it ends life, but because it ends the rhythm we have grown used to. But time does not stop there. It continues in memory, in story, in soil. Your body becomes part of the earth's clock. Your atoms return to the cycle. Flowers bloom where you once walked. Children laugh with your eyes. Nothing is lost. It only changes form. This is the great softness of time. It carries everything. It forgets nothing. So how do we live with such a quiet companion? We stop chasing it. We listen to it. We let it move us gently. In a world that demands urgency, stillness becomes a form of grace. And time responds to stillness. It slows down, it expands, it wraps around you like a warm blanket. A walk becomes a meditation. A sip of tea becomes a ceremony. A deep breath becomes enough. You begin to realize time isn't something outside of you. You are part of it. You are its voice. You are its pause. You are its breath. And in that realization, peace arrives. The kind of peace that doesn't need fixing or answers or proof, just presence, just attention, just the gentle awareness that this moment is enough, that the world is still turning, that your body is still singing, that time is still unfolding around you like the petals of a flower, quiet, slow, and beautiful. You don't need to hold on to it. You only need to feel it. So close your eyes, feel your heartbeat. Feel the air as it enters your lungs. This is time, not the kind you measure, the kind you live, the kind that lives you. And as it passes, may you never forget you are not falling behind. You are not late. You are not lost. You are right on time in the quiet pulse that holds the universe together. The air is not empty. Though we move through it without thinking, though we breathe it in and out without pause, the air is always there, quiet, invisible, listening. It wraps around your body, presses gently against your skin, curls softly into your lungs, then leaves again, unnoticed. But what if we told you that the air remembers every sound? That every word ever spoken, every whisper, every note of every song has shaped the space around us? The air is not a blank canvas. It is a sea of motion, a fabric of memory. And though it carries sound, it also responds to it. The air listens, even when we forget it is there. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine speaking into a vast, open field. The sound of your voice doesn't simply vanish. It moves, it ripples. It touches blades of grass, glides past trees, brushes against stones. It stretches outward until it fades into something too soft to hear, but it never truly stops. Every word, every sound creates a pattern in the air. Invisible waves travel outward, changing the pressure, the movement, the temperature by a fraction. The air adjusts itself to carry these waves. It doesn't resist. It participates. It becomes the message. In science, we understand sound as vibration, a disturbance that travels through a medium. That medium, more often than not, is air. When you speak, your vocal cords vibrate, pushing against the molecules around them. Those molecules bump into their neighbors, who bump into theirs, and so on, passing the vibration outward like a gentle shiver spreading across a still pond. You hear the sound not because air is loud, but because it is responsive. It takes your voice and delivers it to another. It does this without effort, without complaint. It listens. But the air does more than simply carry sound. It holds its memory in subtle ways. In large caverns, echoes can repeat seconds after a noise is made. In certain rooms, a whisper can be heard clearly across the space while a shout disappears. This is because the air doesn't move alone, it moves with the shapes around it. Walls, ceilings, trees, mountains all shape the sound. They reflect it, bend it, soften it. The air learns from these shapes and adjusts. It becomes different in every space. In this way, the air is not just a messenger, it is part of the message. Birds know this. They sing not just to be heard, but to shape the space they live in. A robin's call carries far through the early morning air because that is when the world is quietest. Frogs croak at dusk when the air is cooling, denser, better at carrying low tones. Bats, who cannot see in darkness, listen to the air bouncing their clicks back at them. They build pictures out of silence and return. Each of these creatures depends on the air not just for breath, but for awareness. They live in conversation with it. Even you have felt this, though you may not have noticed. Have you ever heard the sound of wind approaching long before it touches you? That's the air listening to the earth and responding. Have you ever walked into a room and felt the pressure change after someone spoke or sighed? That's the air shifting, reacting, moving in quiet ways. Sound leaves fingerprints on the air, and the air, in turn, leaves them on you. There is a kind of intimacy in this. When someone speaks near you, their voice doesn't travel in a straight line, it surrounds you. It enters your ears, yes, but it also brushes your cheeks, your skin, your chest. The air carries it in all directions, wrapping the message in a gentle cocoon. This is why some words feel heavy and others feel light. It is not just the emotion, it is the shape of the air, the way it trembled to carry those words. You are not just a listener, you are part of the listening. In quiet places, you can feel this more clearly. In a library where every sound is hushed, even the turning of a page feels loud. In a forest where wind threads through branches, your own footsteps seem to echo. In these moments, the air feels more alive, more aware. And maybe it is. Because silence is not the absence of sound, it is the space that makes sound possible. The air waits in that silence, ready to carry the next message, the next breath, the next song. The more we understand this, the more we begin to treat the air with respect. It is not just what we breathe. It is what carries our stories. It is what moves music from fingers to ears, what holds laughter in the corners of a room, what lets our words reach those we love. The air is a quiet companion, always near, always responsive. And in its listening, it teaches us something precious, that we are never truly alone, that every sound we make matters, that even in silence, the air is listening. Let's follow the sound deeper now, not into noise, but into what the air remembers after the sound is gone. The breath of a violin in an empty hall, the lingering echo of a bell long after it has stopped ringing. These are not just moments in time, they are fingerprints of air shaped by sound. The air holds them for a while, just as water holds a ripple after a stone is thrown. And while our ears may forget, the space itself seems to remember, carrying traces of motion and emotion in its invisible waves. When we speak, the air is not just moving, it is responding. And in its soft, silent way, it becomes part of the story. This invisible dance is happening everywhere all the time. Your voice fills the space around you like light fills a room. It bounces, it folds, it rests in corners. In certain places, the air becomes so sensitive to shape and sound that it feels like a living thing. An empty cathedral hums with every footstep. A small cave repeats your whisper like it doesn't want to let go. These are not tricks of the ear. These are the air's way of listening back. Acousticians, the scientists of sound, study how air behaves in different spaces. They measure how long it takes a sound to fade, how many times it reflects, how deeply it bends around pillars or across domes. And through this, they reveal what the air has always known, that every space has its own voice and the air is how it speaks. But even outside the boundaries of rooms and walls, the air is shaped by life. In forests, the trees shape how sound travels. Their trunks absorb some vibrations. Their leaves scatter others. Birds time their calls to moments when the wind is still so their messages can travel farther. Wolves howl from ridges, sending their voices over long distances not just through volume, but by choosing the right time, the right stillness. Nature does not rush to speak. It waits for the air to be ready. It waits for the right kind of listening. In human history, too, the air has held sacred meaning. In ancient temples and sacred sites, sound was part of the design. Some spaces were built not just to be seen, but to be heard. A single note sung under a dome could hover for seconds, resonating like a soft halo. Monks understood this. They did not chant in silence to fill the air, but to align with it. The air was their partner in prayer, their invisible choir. Each breath became a bridge between flesh and sky, between thought and feeling. Even now, in places of worship, the hush before a song, the pause after a prayer carries more than silence. It carries presence. It carries listening. And what about the spaces we know best, our homes, our rooms, our small corners of the world? Even there, the air responds. When someone you love speaks, the room changes. The warmth in their voice wraps around you. When they leave, the silence afterward feels different, not just because the sound is gone, but because the air has let it pass. We sense this in subtle ways. The heaviness of a quiet house, the comfort of a familiar laugh, the ache of hearing your own voice alone. These are all shaped by how the air held what was once there. There is comfort in knowing that nothing we say truly vanishes. It changes form, it fades, but it has moved through something, left a trace. Every lullaby ever sung still exists in the air that once carried it. Every whispered promise, every shouted joy, every soft goodbye. Sound may be fleeting, but the air that carried it remains, and in some gentle, unmeasured way it remembers. Modern science is beginning to explore these mysteries. In some experiments, researchers have shown that even objects can carry the vibrations of sound. A leaf may tremble when a voice is near. A glass of water might vibrate with music too quiet for the ear. Using high-speed cameras, scientists have reconstructed speech just by observing the tiny movements of everyday objects, the shimmer of a chip bag, the flutter of a plant. This tells us something beautiful. The air moves everything. And everything, in turn, responds. The world is not separate from our voice. It dances with it. Think now of wind, air, and motion. It whistles through cracks, it rustles trees, it carries sand across deserts. The wind is not a new sound. It is the air being shaped, being moved, being stirred by invisible forces. When you hear the wind, you are hearing the memory of mountains, of oceans, of open space. It is the air learning a new rhythm. And when the wind pauses, the silence it leaves behind feels full, not empty, because the air is still listening, still moving, still waiting. In this way, sound and air are never separate. They need each other. Without air, sound cannot exist. Without sound, air has no voice. Together, they form the breath of the world, a breath that carries meaning, that holds memory, that reminds us we are always part of something larger. The next time you speak, pause for a moment afterward. Feel how the room holds your words. Feel how the air settles around you. It is not just echo. It is understanding. It is response. It is the air quietly saying, "I heard you." Now let us rest in the quiet truth that has unfolded before us, that the air, though invisible, is never still. It moves with us, breathes with us, listens to us. It is the first thing we take in when we are born and the last thing we release when life ends. It is with us in every laugh, in every song, in every whisper. And in all this time, in all these moments, it has been gently holding the shape of sound, memory, emotion, without ever asking to be seen. The air is not only a carrier. It is a witness, a companion, a mirror of our presence. Think of a child singing alone in a room. The voice is soft, uncertain, but the air receives it without judgment. It wraps itself around the melody and carries it outward, letting it fill the space. No audience may hear it, but the air does. And when the child stops, the silence that follows is not empty. It is full of something unspoken, a trace, a warmth, a memory. This is how the air honors sound. It holds the echo gently, like cupped hands catching light. Across time, humans have understood this instinctively. Poets speak of breath and sky, of voices carried on the wind. Sailors listen to changes in the air before storms. Lovers spoke into the night, trusting their words would travel. There is an old belief in many cultures that prayers whispered into the wind are heard by something greater. Whether or not you believe this, the act itself is beautiful, because it acknowledges that the air is not silent. It is sacred. It participates in the act of speaking, of singing, of hopping. When you whisper to the air, something happens. Not loud, not visible, but real. In times of grief, we often fall silent. We sit in rooms where nothing is said, but everything is felt. The air in these spaces grows heavy, not with noise, but with meaning. It holds the weight of absence. It holds the breath we cannot take. And slowly, gently, when someone finally speaks, just one word, the air moves again and the room begins to breathe. Sound, in its return, becomes a kind of healing, not because it changes what has happened, but because it reminds us that life continues, that the air still listens, that we are not alone. Even in technology, the air continues its quiet work. Radio waves, Wi-Fi signals, voices over the phone, all of it travels through air, shaped and bent by invisible hands. When you call someone far away, your voice is carried not by wires alone, but by the sky itself. When you speak into a recording device, the air's vibration becomes frozen in time, pressed into code, held in memory. We try to replicate sound to preserve it, but the air is always the first to hear it, always the first to understand. And the body knows. Our lungs don't just take in oxygen, they draw in the vibrations of the world. Our skin feels shifts in pressure. Our ears shape air into meaning. And even in silence, we are immersed in air's quiet movement. In sleep, we breathe with it. In stillness, we lean into it. The more we slow down, the more we notice its presence. The way it moves our hair, the way it cools our skin, the way it listens when we say nothing at all. Perhaps this is why some moments feel sacred for reasons we cannot explain. A breeze across your face when you're deep in thought. The hush before someone says something that changes everything. The feeling of standing alone in a vast, open space with no sound but your breath. These are not empty moments. These are moments when the air is most present, when its listening becomes a kind of conversation. It reminds you that space is not hollow, that silence is not lack, that everything you do echoes in the medium around you, felt if not always heard. So what can we learn from this? Perhaps to speak with more care, to sing more often, to sit in silence without fear. The air is not judging, it is holding, it is reflecting. It is keeping your words safe in a place you cannot see. And perhaps to listen more, not just with your ears, but with your presence. When someone speaks to you, their words travel through the air, shaped by their breath, their feeling, their hope. The air carries all of it, and you receive it not just in sound, but in shape, in warmth, in space. You are not just hearing them. You are feeling them through the invisible hands of the air between you. So when you next enter a quiet room, pause, breathe, let the silence fill you, and know that you are surrounded by something that remembers. The air has listened to lullabies and arguments, laughter and farewells, poems and promises, and now it listens to you, not because you are loud, not because you are perfect, but because you are here, and that is enough. In every breath, the air reminds you, I hear you, I carry you, I am with you. Noise at first glance seems to be the opposite of silence, loud, messy, unpredictable. We think of it as something to escape, something that interrupts peace. But noise, too, holds stories. Noise carries memory, shaped by what came before and what remains afterward. When we hear a sudden shout or a burst of laughter, we respond not just to its volume, but to its meaning, its origin, its emotion, its context. Noise is more than sound. It is the result of lives colliding with space, energy brushing against the world. And like a footprint left in soft soil, it leaves behind a trace, a memory. Even after it fades, something remains. Think of an old city street. Cars pass, engines hum, feet tap against pavement, voices rise and fall. The sound never stops, yet it's not random. There is a rhythm to it, a pulse. This is the noise of life, people moving, building, speaking. If you sit quietly in such a place, you begin to notice layers. Beneath the traffic, a bird sings. Beneath the voices, a breeze dances through leaves. Even in the loudest places, there is structure. and within that structure memory gathers. Certain sounds become part of the identity of a place. The chime of a clock tower, the whistle of a distant train, the rattle of a market gate. They return again and again, creating patterns that the body begins to expect. And when those patterns shift, we feel it, not just in our ears but in our sense of belonging. Your own life is built upon a soundtrack of noise. The soft murmur of family voices from the next room, the buzz of streetlights on summer nights, the hum of the refrigerator at midnight. These sounds are not music, yet they are familiar, grounding. They tell you where you are when you are who you are with. Even in dreams, echoes of real-world noise seep through. A dog barking outside, a door closing gently. Your brain does not ignore them, it weaves them in, turns them into stories. In this way, noise becomes memory's companion. It wraps itself around moments, embedding them in sound. Scientists studying memory and sound have found that our brains tie certain noises to emotions. A particular laugh can bring back a specific person. A song from long ago can unfold entire chapters of the past. But it isn't always music that triggers memory. Often it is noise, a hallway echo, a train horn, the creak of an old stair. These sounds don't need words. They don't need melody. They simply need familiarity. And when they reappear, they light up the same neural paths as the original moment. The brain, upon hearing, whispers to the heart, "You've been here before." Noise in its rawness is deeply human. It captures the imperfections of living, the rustle of paper when someone is nervous, the stutter in a voice telling a difficult truth, the sound of dishes clinking in a kitchen where no one speaks. These aren't clean sounds. They are messy, unpredictable, alive. And that's why we remember them, because they're real, because they happened when we weren't paying attention. And sometimes those are the moments that stay with us the longest. In nature, too, noise plays a role. Forests are not silent. The rustling of leaves, the crack of branches, the scurry of small feet through underbrush, these are the sounds of a living, breathing world. Even silence in a forest is shaped by noise. It is defined by what is absent, the lack of birdsong when a predator nears, the stillness after a sudden crash. Animals listen not only for sounds but for the memories those sounds evoke. They know what each rustle might mean, what each silence might hold. It is a language beyond words, a library of instinct. We too carry this language. Think of the sound of rain, not just the soft patter on windows, but the way it slows time, how it makes you pause, how it brings a kind of calm, a feeling you can't quite explain. That feeling is memory, not of one specific storm, but of many, of moments spent inside, wrapped in warmth, listening to the sky breathe. Noise does not simply exist, it builds upon itself, echoing through our days, layering emotion over sensation until we can no longer separate them. Even in the quietest places, noise finds a way to live on. In ancient buildings, sound historians study how voices once moved through stone corridors. In abandoned theaters, they imagine the applause that once thundered, the hush that once fell. They speak of acoustic memory, the way a space seems to remember what it once held, the way sound, though gone, still shapes the air. You felt this, perhaps, walking into a room where something important happened. You don't hear it, but you feel it. A weight, a tension. A hum beneath the silence. That is noise remembered without being heard. So noise is not the enemy of silence. It is its shadow, its twin. The two shape each other. Noise gives memory to silence. Silence gives meaning to noise. And somewhere between the two we live, breathing, listening, remembering. Every sound we make joins the world's great archive, stored not in libraries, but in the moving air, in the shaping of rooms, in the stillness left behind. Let's walk deeper now into this quiet archive that noise leaves behind. Imagine entering an empty room, one that once held laughter or argument or music. Even if all has gone quiet, something lingers. Not in the air you can hear, but in how the silence feels. Some rooms seem to hold their past like perfume in the walls. They feel full, even when empty. That fullness, though invisible, is shaped by sound, by noise, by presence. The science may call it acoustic residue or reverberation memory, but the feeling is far older than any measurement. We feel it when we return to a childhood home, when we sit in a classroom long after class has ended, When we walk through old halls at night, the air itself seems changed, because noise, even once gone, alters the space it filled. In cities, this layering is everywhere. The sound of footsteps echoes where millions have walked. Beneath the honking horns and humming neon, there's a kind of time capsule. The memory of street performers, of protests, of conversations held in doorways. The buildings absorb it. The alleys carry it. The sidewalks remember. And the noise that surrounds you becomes something more than chaos. It becomes character. When you leave that place and hear silence, you realize what was holding you was not just the ground, it was the sound. The heartbeat of a place is in its noise. And your own body, too, remembers in noise. Not only through ears, but through vibration, through touch. The rattle of a subway underfoot, the thump of bass through your chest at a concert, the tremble of thunder just before it roars. These are memories that live in sensation. You might not recall the song title or the time of day, but your body remembers the feeling, the weight of it, the tension before the crash, the softness after. These are not just sensory echoes, they are emotional landmarks. They tell you where you've been, even when words cannot. In the ocean, noise travels farther than light. Whales sing across vast distances, their calls bending through water, reaching ears miles away. Some of their songs last hours, some never truly end. And beneath those calls there is always a hum, a deep, low background noise made by the earth itself. Underwater microphones placed in the sea have captured it. The movement of tectonic plates, the groan of icebergs, the far-off clatter of volcanic eruptions. Even here, far from human life, noise is memory. A record of shifting worlds. Scientists studying noise pollution have discovered that constant sound changes how animals behave. Birds in loud areas sing higher-pitched songs. Frogs adjust their croaks to be heard. Even plants may respond differently to vibration. The world listens to its own noise and changes in response. But there is beauty here too. Because when noise stops, when machines pause and traffic fades, the natural sounds return almost immediately, as if they were waiting, as if the earth too remembers what peace sounds like. The brain stores noise differently than silence. Loud, unexpected sounds are prioritized, processed faster, held longer. This is an ancient survival tool helping us react quickly to danger. But repetitive or comforting noise like waves, like wind, like a familiar voice does something else. It soothes the nervous system. It slows the heart. It opens the memory. Therapists use this knowledge with soundscapes and white noise, helping people sleep, focus, heal. Because even noise, when it is rhythmic, when it is known, becomes a kind of lullaby, a pulse we can rest inside. In your daily life, noise builds patterns. The clink of a spoon in a mug, the shuffle of papers, the faint murmur of television in another room. These sounds are often unnoticed until they vanish. And when they do, when silence falls, we suddenly understand how full the world was. The absence of these tiny noises feels like a door has closed, like something familiar has stepped away. This is how deeply we are shaped by noise, not because it shouts, but because it stays. In meditation and prayer, silence is often the goal, but the path there is lined with noise, the breath, the beating heart, the small creaks of the body. Spiritual seekers have long used chants, bells, and drums not to break silence, but to lead toward it. These sounds become anchors, something to return to, something to follow inward. And when the final note fades, what remains feels larger than before. Not empty, just still. The noise, in fading, leaves a space that remembers it. Perhaps the most powerful memory noise carries is human connection. The way a voice can pull you from sleep. The way laughter in a hallway can lift your mood before you see a face. The way crying in another room can shake you, even without a word. These moments pass quickly, but their echoes last. Long after the sound ends, we carry the emotion. In grief, the most painful memory is often the voice we can no longer hear. In love, the most cherished one is the sound of someone breathing beside us, steady and alive. These are not just auditory moments. They are imprints. So noise is not the opposite of silence. It is its beginning, its echo, its ghost. And it is how we remember, not with clarity always, but with texture, with warmth, with weight. Every noise we've ever heard still hums somewhere within us, tangled with memory folded into feeling. The world around us speaks constantly, not just in words but in layers of sound, each one carrying the trace of life lived, of emotion felt, of time passing softly by. Now let us settle into the quiet conclusion of noise's story, not as something to escape, but as a part of us that shapes who we are. Noise, in its many forms, becomes memory's echo. It is the trace left behind by moments we have lived, by emotions we have felt, by connections we have made. When you close your eyes and recall a place from your past, it is not only the sights but the sounds and noises that bring it alive. The creak of a door, the hum of distant traffic, the laughter carried on the breeze, all come rushing back, carrying with them the texture of that memory. Noise becomes a bridge, linking past and present in an unspoken conversation. Consider how silence follows noise. When a loud sound ends, the world does not return immediately to quiet. Instead, a fading echo lingers, a reminder of what was. This transition is a gentle shift, a moment of pause where memory gathers itself. Our brains hold onto this fading sound longer than the noise itself, allowing us to process, to understand, to feel. In that brief stillness, we find space to breathe, to reflect. It is a soft boundary between the chaos of living and the calm of being. Noise and silence, then, are not enemies but dance partners, one leading, one following, always entwined. In the body, this dance is reflected in how we respond to sound. Sudden noises trigger reflexes, startle responses that prepare us for action. Familiar noises bring comfort, relaxing muscles and opening hearts. Even when asleep, our brains continue to monitor the sounds around us, responding differently to a loved one's voice than to a stranger's. This sensitivity is woven into our biology, a survival tool, a means of connection. Noise, then, is both threat and gift. It wakes us and it soothes us. It shapes our lives in ways we cannot always explain. And in the spaces we create, our homes, our cities, our communities, noise becomes identity. A bustling market's cacophony tells a different story than a quiet village's chorus of birds and wind. A concert hall's roar contrasts with a library's hush. These soundscapes shape how we feel about a place. They become part of its character, its soul. And when those sounds change, when a city quiets at night, when a beloved song fades from the radio, we feel loss, not just of sound, but of belonging. Noise, in this way, is a thread in the fabric of place. Artists have long known this. Poets write of the music hidden in everyday noise, the tapping of rain on windows, the whisper of footsteps on wooden floors, the rustle of leaves stirred by wind. Composers use found sounds to create new melodies. Painters try to capture the feeling of a bustling street or a silent room. Noise becomes inspiration, a raw material for creation. It reminds us that beauty is not only in harmony, but in the rough edges, the unexpected bursts, the texture of life. In modern times, technology surrounds us with noise, machines, alarms, voices, music. Sometimes it is overwhelming, making silence a rare treasure. Yet even in this flood, noise continues to carry meaning. The beep of a message brings connection. The hum of a favorite song lifts the spirit. The laughter of children reminds us of joy. Noise is never just sound. It is feeling, history, presence. It is the echo of all who came before and the invitation to join in. Finally, consider the power of noise to heal. In therapy, soundscapes are used to calm anxiety, to open creativity, to ease pain. The steady beat of a drum can ground the restless mind. The gentle rush of waves can carry sorrow away. Even the chaotic clatter of a busy street can bring a strange comfort, a reminder of life's continuity. Noise, in its many forms, is medicine for the soul. It speaks when words cannot. It listens when silence is too heavy. It holds us, connects us, reminds us we are alive. So noise is not just interruption or annoyance. It is memory and presence, connection and identity, music and healing. It lives in the spaces between silence, shaping, and being shaped. The next time you hear a sound that startles or soothes, remember, you are hearing more than vibration. You are hearing the story of life itself, told in whispers, echoes, and roars. And in that story, noise is never lost. It lives on quietly in the memory of the world and the beating heart of all who listen. The world around you is alive with secrets, hidden rhythms, unseen currents, quiet pulses that shape everything. One of the most mysterious is the electricity of thought. Your brain, a soft, wrinkled organ nestled in your skull, hums with silent storms of energy every second. Neurons, tiny cells numbering billions, send messages not with words but with sparks. These sparks are not fire or heat but electrical impulses, flickers of energy that race through your mind. They carry your memories, your feelings, your decisions. They create the landscape of your inner world, thoughts flowing like gentle rivers or flashing like lightning in a storm. And yet, despite their power, these electric signals are as delicate and quiet as a whisper in a cathedral. Imagine a forest at dusk. The sun fades and fireflies begin their dance, tiny lights blinking in a slow rhythm, communicating without sound. Your brain works in a similar way. Each neuron is like a firefly, lighting up in patterns that form ideas, sensations, memories. The electricity between them flows through synapses, tiny gaps where signals leap like sparks between branches. This dance of light and shadow inside your head is the essence of consciousness, a symphony conducted by electric pulses. Though invisible, these currents shape who you are. Your thoughts, your dreams, your very sense of self depend on this silent electricity. In every moment, millions of neurons fire in intricate patterns. Some bursts are quick and sharp, like the sudden flash of a lightning bug. Others are slow and steady, like the glow of embers in a dying fire. These patterns change as you move, speak, feel. When you see a friend's face, your brain lights up in a familiar constellation. When you learn something new, new paths form, wires growing in the forest of your mind. This is called neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to rewire itself. It means your thoughts are not fixed. They are electric rivers that can carve new paths, flow around obstacles, create new connections. Your brain is alive in this way, always changing, always glowing. Electricity in the brain is not like the electricity in a lamp or a phone. It is gentle, precise, and deeply complex. Neurons generate tiny voltages, barely enough to light a small bulb. But when billions fire together, the effect is enormous. It creates everything you experience: the taste of chocolate, the sound of a song, the memory of a childhood afternoon. Even emotions, those unseen forces, are shaped by electric signals coursing through circuits of neurons and chemicals. Anger can be a storm of sparks, calm, a soft, steady current. The electricity of thought is the music behind your mind's eye. Think now of the way your thoughts travel. Unlike a computer, your brain's electric signals do not follow simple wires. They flow through webs, networks, clusters. They loop back on themselves. They create feedback echoes, waves. Sometimes they synchronize, creating rhythms like drums beating in unison. Other times they spark unpredictably like fireworks in the night sky. This dance of electricity is chaotic and ordered, wild and gentle, much like life itself. It is the pulse of your inner world, quiet yet powerful. Even when you sleep, your brain continues its electric symphony. Different patterns emerge in dreaming and deep rest. In these states, neurons fire in waves, sweeping across the brain like tides. Some waves help consolidate memories, others clear out waste. Sleep is not just rest, it is a vital time when your brain's electric currents reorganize and renew. Without it, the quiet dance of electricity falters. You wake not just tired but unbalanced, disconnected from the flow. The brain's electricity also connects to the body. The nervous system is an intricate highway carrying electrical signals from brain to muscles, skin, organs. It tells your heart to beat, your lungs to breathe, your fingers to touch. When you move, it fires in perfect timing like a conductor leading an orchestra. Without these signals, your body would be still. This electrical dialogue is constant, subtle, seamless. It shapes the rhythm of life itself. Scientists study this electric dance using tools like EEGs and MRIs, machines that measure the brain's faint electric fields. They have discovered patterns linked to attention, creativity, even consciousness itself. Some scientists believe that understanding this electricity could unlock cures for brain diseases, enhance learning, or even create new ways to communicate. Yet, despite all our technology, the full mystery remains. The electricity of thought is a quiet miracle, vibrant and alive, yet hidden within the soft folds of your mind. You are in every moment a universe of electric sparks, each thought a flicker, each memory a glow. Your mind pulses with currents shaped by your experiences, your feelings, your dreams. The electricity of thought is both the source and the song of your being, and though it is silent, unseen, it carries the power to shape your world from within. Let's drift deeper into this hidden current, where the electricity of thought flows softly through the labyrinth of your brain. Each neuron spark connects to others in an endless network, weaving patterns that form the tapestry of your mind. These electric signals do not just pass messages, they shape perception, emotion, and understanding. When you see a sunset, the light's image is transformed into electric patterns that your brain reads as color and shape. When you hear a friend's voice, sound waves are converted into electrical pulses that stir memories and feelings. This electrical symphony is the language of experience, the code that turns sensation into meaning. Inside this web, connections grow and fade. When you learn something new, your brain builds fresh pathways, strengthening some signals and letting others weaken. This plasticity means your mind is not fixed but fluid, an ever-changing dance of electricity and possibility. It is why practice improves skill, why memories deepen, and why creativity sparks when you least expect it. The electricity of thought is both structure and flow, order and chaos, a gentle current that carries the whole of your inner world. These electric waves also create rhythms, cycles of activity that rise and fall like tides. Scientists observe brain waves in different frequencies, slow delta waves during deep sleep, faster beta waves when focused and alert, and gentle alpha waves in relaxed states. Each rhythm carries a different mood, a different mode of being. Meditation can increase alpha waves, calming the mind. Excitement and anxiety flood the brain with faster rhythms. This ever-changing electrical landscape guides your thoughts, moods, and awareness, shaping your day without your conscious effort. The brain's electricity is intimately linked with chemistry. Electrical impulses trigger the release of neurotransmitters, tiny molecules that carry signals across gaps between neurons. These chemicals influence mood, motivation, and memory. Dopamine, serotonin, and others paint your inner world with feeling and color. The interplay of electricity and chemistry forms the basis of consciousness. It is what makes you feel joy, sadness, love, or calm. And though these currents are microscopic, their effects ripple through your whole being. When you focus attention, your brain's electric activity shifts. Neurons fire more synchronously, creating patterns that help you solve problems, create art, or remember a face. Distractions scatter these currents, making it harder to think clearly. The electricity of thought is sensitive. It reflects your environment, your body's state, your mind's focus. It is both fragile and resilient, a silent orchestra tuning itself constantly to the demands of life. In moments of creativity, electric signals surge unpredictably. Ideas emerge as new patterns spark, combining fragments of memory and sensation in novel ways. These flashes of insight may feel sudden, but they arise from the quiet buildup of currents beneath consciousness. The electricity of thought is not just about logic. It is about imagination, emotion, and connection. It carries the light of invention and the warmth of empathy, weaving the story of who you are. Even emotions are electric. Fear can cause neurons to fire rapidly, flooding the brain with signals that prepare the body to act. Love can synchronize activity in areas linked to reward and attachment, lighting up the brain's landscape like dawn breaking over a dark horizon. These electrical patterns shape your experience, making feelings vivid, immediate, and real. The electricity of thought is not cold or mechanical. It is alive with the pulse of life itself. In sleep, this electric dance slows and shifts. The brain moves through cycles of activity, weaving dreams from the fabric of memory and emotion. Some waves help consolidate what you learned during the day. Others clear away waste products, renewing your mind for tomorrow. Sleep is not rest from electricity. It is a time when your brain's currents reorganize, heal, and refresh. Without this rhythm, the symphony would falter. Technology has given us tools to peer into this electric world. EEG machines read brain waves, MRI scans map activity, new methods even allow communication through thought patterns. These advances hold promise for healing, learning, and understanding consciousness itself. Yet the full mystery remains. The electricity of thought is a silent wonder, complex, beautiful, and deeply personal. It is the quiet light that guides your mind through the ever-changing landscape of experience. You carry this electric world inside you always. Each thought is a spark, each feeling a pulse. This quiet electricity shapes your perceptions, memories, and dreams. It is the rhythm beneath your words, the current beneath your silence. The electricity of thought is the song of your soul, played softly in the depths of your being. Now, as we settle into the quiet heart of this electric story, consider the gentle power that pulses beneath all thought and feeling. The electricity of your brain is not just a technical marvel, it is the very essence of your experience. It carries the delicate line between awareness and dream, between memory and imagination. In moments of deep reflection, your neurons spark softly, weaving connections that bring clarity and peace. In times of chaos, the same currents blaze brightly, rushing like rivers in flood. The electricity of thought is both calm and storm, silence and song. Imagine standing on a hill at night, watching distant lightning flicker across the sky. Each flash is sudden, bright, then gone, yet the sky remembers its light and the earth feels its energy. Your brain's electric pulses are like that, brief bursts of illumination in a vast landscape of darkness. They light the way for ideas, emotions, decisions. And when they rest, the silence between sparks holds space for meaning to form. This pause is as important as the fire itself. It is the breath between words, the stillness that makes music possible. Even when you are still, the electricity continues. In the gentle hum of rest, your brain prepares for the next moment, consolidates what it has learned, heals itself. Some scientists call this the brain's default mode, a state of quiet awareness where self-reflection and creativity bloom. It is here that the electric currents shape the very fabric of your identity, where memories are woven, where insights emerge. This resting pulse is not empty. It is alive with potential. Emotions flood the brain with electric energy, coloring your experience with vivid hues. Love ignites circuits of reward and attachment, creating a warm glow inside. Fear triggers alarm pathways, lighting the mind with urgency and alertness. Joy pulses like sunlight through the synapses, bright and clear. These electrical dances shape how you perceive the world, how you respond to others, how you understand yourself. They are both science and poetry, electricity as feeling. When you create, when you paint, write, sing, build, your brain's electricity shifts into new patterns. The old connections spark in new ways. Novel ideas emerge from the dance of neurons. Creativity is not just mental, it is electric, physical, alive. It flows through you like a river, sometimes rushing, sometimes flowing gently. The electricity of thought is the current beneath creation, the light behind imagination. In moments of connection, when you look into someone's eyes or hear their voice, your brain's electric patterns synchronize in subtle ways. This neural harmony underlies empathy, understanding, love. It is the invisible bridge that joins one mind to another. The electricity of thought is not contained inside you. It reaches outward, shaping relationships, building bonds. It is the spark that lights community. Throughout your life, this electric symphony plays on. It changes, grows, adapts. It responds to your experiences, your environment, your choices. Science may one day map every circuit, every pulse, every spark. But the true wonder is not in the details. It is in the fact that this silent, delicate electricity creates the whole of your inner world. It is the light that animates your thoughts, the current that flows through your dreams. So in your quiet moments, feel this electricity inside you. Feel the soft sparks of awareness, the gentle rhythm of thought. Know that within you an endless symphony plays, a music made not of sound but of light and energy. The electricity of thought is the pulse of your being, the silent song that makes you who you are. In the stillness of the night, when the world holds its breath, the trees begin to whisper, not with words but with a language older than speech, a soft communication carried through roots and branches, through the slow pulse of life itself. Trees do not move like animals. They do not run or hide. Instead, they speak in silence, in the gentle sway of leaves, in the subtle exchange of chemicals through their roots. This is the secret life of trees, a quiet world of signals and responses that connects each tree to the forest around it. It is a language that humans are only beginning to understand, a conversation written in the soft rustle of branches and the unseen flow beneath the earth. Imagine standing in a dense forest. The air is thick with the scent of pine and earth, and the canopy above filters the sunlight into dappled patterns on the ground. If you listen closely, you might hear the faintest rustle, not from wind, but from the trees themselves. Each leaf, each branch, responds to the world in its own way. When a deer passes by, nearby trees release chemicals that warn their neighbors of danger. When a storm approaches, the forest adjusts its movements, preparing for the coming wind and rain. This communication is not loud or hurried. It is deliberate, slow, and deeply attuned to the rhythms of nature. Beneath the soil, a vast network connects these giants. Mycorrhizal fungi, tiny thread-like organisms, weave through the roots of trees, forming an underground web often called the wood wide web. Through this network, trees exchange nutrients, water, and information. A dying tree may send signals through this fungal network, warning others to bolster their defenses against disease or pests. Younger saplings receive nutrients from older trees, ensuring the forest's future. This cooperation challenges the idea of trees as solitary beings. Instead, they are part of a community, linked by invisible threads of life and communication. Science has uncovered much about this silent network. Researchers have measured chemical signals traveling through roots and fungal connections. They have observed trees responding to neighbors in distress, altering their growth patterns accordingly. These discoveries reveal a world of social interaction beneath the surface, trees that share, warn, and nurture each other. It is a world that operates slowly, in a language of chemicals and vibrations, but one no less rich or complex than the chatter of birds or the calls of mammals. The daily rhythm of trees is tied closely to light and time. They open their leaves to catch sunlight, closing them at night to conserve energy. Some species even count the hours, sensing when to bloom, when to shed leaves, when to prepare for winter's cold. This internal clock is guided by a biochemical cycle within cells, a slow pulse that synchronizes the tree with the changing seasons. It is a form of timekeeping that connects the individual to the forest and the forest to the world beyond. Trees also remember. In their rings, scientists read the history of droughts, fires, and storms, a living record of the environment over decades and centuries. This memory is etched in wood, not in words, but in the shape and density of growth. Each ring tells a story of survival, adaptation, and change. Trees carry these histories quietly, holding the past within their very being, shaping the future with every new ring. The gentle sway of branches in the breeze is not just a response to wind. It is also a form of communication, a way to signal to insects, birds, and even other trees. Some trees release scents carried on the wind, attracting pollinators or repelling herbivores. These subtle messages are part of the forest's ongoing dialogue, a continuous exchange that maintains balance and harmony. For humans, the forest is a place of mystery and solace. We walk among trees seeking peace, connection, and inspiration. Though we do not speak their language, we feel its presence in the shade of leaves, the scent of bark, the quiet strength of trunks. The trees remind us of patience, resilience, and the power of community. They teach us to listen not just with ears, but with attention to the slow, gentle rhythms of life. In this way, the trees whisper not just to each other, but to us. Their stories are stories of time, of connection, of quiet endurance. They invite us to slow down, to breathe deeply, and to hear the soft pulse of the natural world. In the trees' whisper there is a a song of life unfolding in silence, carried on the wind and rooted deep in the earth. Let us drift deeper into the forest's quiet conversation, beneath the rustling leaves and sun-dappled canopy, down to the tangled network beneath the soil where roots and fungi weave an ancient web. This hidden world pulses with life and communication, a silent symphony where trees share resources and stories through microscopic threads. The mycorrhizal fungi act as nature's internet, linking individual trees into a cooperative community. Through this web, a tree under attack releases chemical signals that travel underground, warning neighbors to prepare defenses. It's a quiet alarm system, a lifeline connecting trees of different species and ages, ensuring survival beyond individual limits. Scientists have uncovered astonishing details of this network. When a tree suffers from pests, it increases production of certain compounds like tannins, making its leaves less palatable. This chemical message travels through fungal connections, triggering neighboring trees to boost their own defenses. Young saplings, too weak to fend off threats alone, receive nutrients through this underground lifeline from mature trees, helping them grow strong. It is a remarkable form of cooperation, evidence of a collective intelligence spread across the forest floor, where life thrives not through competition alone, but through mutual aid and silent solidarity. The rhythms of this community follow the cycles of nature. As days grow shorter and temperatures drop, trees begin to slow their growth and prepare for winter's rest. Their chemical signals adjust, telling neighbors to conserve resources. In spring, new shoots emerge in synchrony, guided by shared timing encoded within the network. This communal timing ensures that the forest acts as a whole, responding together to environmental cues. It is as if the forest breathes in unison, each tree a part of a greater organism, connected by threads unseen. Beyond the chemical language, trees also communicate through subtle vibrations. When branches sway or leaves flutter, they produce mechanical signals that may influence nearby trees. Some research suggests that these vibrations help trees detect wind patterns, avoid damage, or even recognize the presence of certain insects. The forest is alive not only in smell and taste, but in touch and sound, a multisensory network tuned to the environment's shifting rhythms. This understanding transforms how we see trees, not as solitary beings, but as members of a social network, each contributing to and supported by the community. The ancient idea of the tree of life gains new meaning as science reveals the deep interconnections beneath our feet. It reminds us that life depends on cooperation, on listening, on responding, not just competition. Trees have evolved over millions of years to thrive together, sharing resources, warning each other, and nurturing the young. In this silent communion, there is wisdom, resilience, and hope. Human culture has long recognized the sacredness of trees and forests. Many traditions revere trees as symbols of life, knowledge, and connection to the divine. Rituals honor their strength and longevity. Tales tell of spirits dwelling within bark and branches. Though we may not hear their chemical whispers or feel their vibrations, we sense their presence as guardians of the earth. In quiet moments, walking beneath towering trunks, we tap into this ancient connection, reminded that we too are part of the web of life. The forest story is one of patience and endurance. Trees grow slowly, sometimes over centuries, weathering storms, droughts, and change. Their whispered communication sustains this long journey, allowing the community to adapt together. When one falls, others respond. Roots spread, resources shift, new growth emerges. The forest heals itself through this network, a testament to the power of connection and cooperation in the natural world. In a time when humanity faces environmental challenges, this lesson is vital. Understanding the silent language of trees encourages us to protect and preserve these living communities. It teaches us that every part matters, from the smallest seedling to the oldest giant. The health of the forest depends on the strength of its connections, just as our own well-being depends on the bonds we share with each other and the earth. So, as you walk through the forest, take a moment to listen, not for words but for the quiet pulse of life. Feel the soft sway of leaves, the cool breath of shade, the steady strength beneath your feet. Remember that the trees are whispering, communicating, caring for one another in a language older than time. Their story is our story, a reminder that we are all connected by threads of life, woven deep in the soil and stretching high into the sky. There is a quiet magic in the way water remembers. Though it flows endlessly, slipping through rivers, oceans, and clouds, water carries stories beneath its surface, tales shaped by time, temperature, and touch. The memory of water is not in words but in patterns, the way molecules arrange themselves, the traces of minerals and life they hold, the paths they have traveled through earth and sky. It is a living memory, invisible yet profound, weaving the history of the world in every drop. Water is not just liquid, it is a keeper of secrets, a gentle archive of the Earth's journey. Imagine standing by a flowing river. The water you see is not the same water that passed moments before. It is constantly moving, changing, renewing. Yet within its flow there is continuity, a connection to all that came before. This is water's memory, a balance between change and persistence. Scientists have found that water molecules form transient structures, clusters that last only moments but influence how water behaves. These clusters reflect the environment, temperature, impurities, even electromagnetic fields, capturing subtle information as they move. In this way, water carries a memory of the world it passes through, a silent record of its journey. Beyond molecules, water's memory extends into ecosystems. The health of rivers depends on the history of rainfall, soil, and living organisms. Pollutants or nutrients entering a stream change its character, effects that ripple downstream and linger long after the source has gone. In wetlands, water supports diverse life, its flow shaping habitats that evolve over seasons and years. The memory of water is ecological, a story told not just in chemistry, but in the thriving or fatting of life. Water holds the past and shapes the future. Even humans share this connection to water's memory. From the water in our cells to the rivers near our homes, we are part of this ongoing flow. Our bodies remember water in sensations, the cool touch on skin, the taste of fresh spring, the comfort of rain. Ancient cultures revered water as sacred, a source of life and wisdom. They understood intuitively that water carries not only physical nourishment but spiritual memory, connecting us to nature and each other. In rituals and stories, water symbolizes cleansing, renewal, and continuity. Modern science explores these ideas with curiosity. Some researchers study how water's structure changes in response to sound, light, or intention, a controversial field that suggests water might hold information beyond what is currently understood. Others examine how water interacts with biological systems, influencing growth and health. Though mysteries remain, it is clear that water's memory is complex, layered, and essential to life. It is both physical and poetic, a bridge between science and wonder. Consider the water cycle, the endless journey of evaporation, condensation, and precipitation. Water leaves the Earth's surface, rises into clouds, and returns again as rain or snow. Along this path, it collects stories from the atmosphere, from plants, from soil. Each droplet carries these tales back to the Earth, renewing rivers and lakes with memories of distant places and times. This cycle is a grand conversation between earth and sky, a dance of memory and motion. Water remembers its journey and shares it with every drop. In quiet moments by a lake or stream, you may sense this memory. The gentle ripple of water carries the touch of wind, the movement of fish, the fall of leaves. The surface reflects light and shadow, telling stories without sound. Water invites us to listen, not just with ears but with presence, to feel the passage of time in its flow, to understand that though water moves, it also holds. It holds memory, life, and the endless whisper of the world. Water's memory teaches us about resilience and change. It shows how life adapts, endures, and transforms. Like water, we move through challenges, shaped by experience yet always flowing forward. We carry our own memories, hidden deep within, shaping who we are. And like water, we are part of a larger cycle, connected, continuous, ever-changing. The memory of water is a mirror for the memory within ourselves. So next time you see water, whether a rushing river, a quiet pond, or a single raindrop, remember its secret. It is more than liquid. It is life's memory made visible. It is a story flowing through time, a soft voice whispering the history of the earth. And in its gentle presence, we find a reflection of our own journey, a journey of remembering, of being, and of moving endlessly toward what comes next. Let us drift deeper now into the memory that water holds, not just in its molecules, but in the life it nurtures and the stories it carries. Water flows through rivers and streams, tracing paths carved over millennia. Each bend, each ripple, each pool holds a record of rain that fell long ago, of stones worn smooth by endless passage, of leaves and creatures that have touched its surface. Scientists study sediment and isotopes to uncover these histories, reading water like a diary written in currents and chemistry. These stories tell of droughts and floods, of life flourishing or retreating, of the Earth's pulse over time. Water remembers not just the present but the past, shaping the future with every drop. Beneath the surface, water forms ecosystems that teem with life. Fish, plants, insects, and microorganisms all depend on water's consistency and quality. Changes in water temperature shifts, pollution, acidity, alter these communities, sometimes in profound ways. When a river's course changes, it redraws the map of life itself. The memory water carries in its flow affects more than molecules. It shapes the destinies of countless creatures. Wetlands act as natural filters, cleansing water and preserving biodiversity. This connection between water and life forms a delicate web where memory and survival intertwine. Humans, too, are part of this ongoing story. Our bodies, mostly water, carry memories of hydration, nourishment, and healing. Water's rhythm is embedded in our cells, pulsing with every heartbeat, every breath. Cultures around the world have honored water as sacred, bathing in rivers, collecting rain, worshiping springs. They understood that water is not just physical but spiritual, a carrier of memory, renewal, and connection. Stories of water gods, of sacred wells, and cleansing rituals speak to a deep recognition of water's power to hold and transform memory. Modern science explores these mysteries with new eyes. Some experiments suggest water may respond to electromagnetic fields, sound vibrations, even human intention. Though controversial, these findings hint at layers of water's memory beyond chemical composition, echoes of interactions and energies that shape its behavior. This idea expands our understanding of water from a simple compound to a dynamic system sensitive to its environment and history. Water, it seems, is alive with more than molecules. It vibrates with memory and meaning. Consider the vast cycle water moves through, evaporating from oceans and lakes, forming clouds that drift across continents, falling as rain, sinking into soil, feeding roots, flowing back to rivers and seas. Along this endless journey, water collects stories from earth and sky. It carries the imprint of weather, of seasons, of life it has touched. This cycle is a conversation between the planet and its inhabitants, a rhythmic exchange where memory flows freely, shaping landscapes and ecosystems. Each drop is a messenger, bearing the past into the present. In quiet moments, watching water flow can reveal this memory. The gentle lap of waves on a shore holds the story of wind and tide, moon and sun. A trickling brook whispers of stones worn smooth and moss growing thick. Raindrops tapping on leaves sing a song of sky and earth meeting. These sounds and sights are expressions of water's memory made visible. They invite us to listen with more than ears, to feel the passage of time in every ripple, to see the history in every shimmer. Water's memory also teaches resilience. It flows around obstacles, carves new paths, fills drought-stricken earth anew. Like life, it adapts and persists, shaped by experience but always moving forward. In droughts, water's absence is felt deeply, but so is its return when rain comes, when rivers swell, when wetlands bloom. This cycle of loss and renewal mirrors human journeys of hardship and healing. Water holds the wisdom of endurance and change, offering lessons in patience and hope. So as you encounter water in a glass, a stream, the rain falling softly, remember its story. Remember that each drop carries a history far older and deeper than it appears. Water is more than liquid. It is memory in motion, life in flow, a gentle witness to the passage of time. And in its quiet presence we find reflections of ourselves, moving, remembering, transforming, endlessly connected to the world around us. Now, as the water completes its endless journey, it gathers the stories it has carried and shared, whispering them softly back into the world. The river that once tumbled over stones and moss brings these memories to the ocean, where they mingle with tides shaped by the moon and stars. Each wave is a song of journeys past, of storms weathered, of lands nourished, of life sustained. The water's memory does not end with its movement. It lives in the cycles of evaporation and rain, in the clouds that drift and dissolve, in the soil that drinks deeply and releases slowly. It is a continuous conversation, a rhythm that connects earth, sky, and sea. Water remembers in the shapes it leaves behind, carving canyons, forming deltas, nourishing forests. The landscape itself is a canvas painted by water's touch over eons. In every valley and every drop of dew, the past is etched in liquid form. Glaciers, too, hold memory in their frozen depths, slowly releasing ancient water as they melt, carrying with them the climate's story across time. This slow unfolding is a testament to water's power not only to remember but to transform. It shapes not only the world's surface, but the future of all who dwell within its reach. In human lives, water is a symbol of renewal and connection. The water we drink carries molecules that have traveled continents, molecules once part of ancient rain or distant oceans. Each sip is a taste of history, a link to the Earth's deep past. Rituals involving water, baptisms, purification, healing baths, reflect this understanding. Water cleanses and refreshes, but it also connects us to the flow of life itself, a shared memory that transcends time and place. In the quiet moments by a well or a stream, we touch this ancient current, becoming part of water's ongoing story. Science and spirituality converge in this awareness of water's memory. While physics explains the molecular structure and flow, many traditions speak of water as a carrier of intention and energy. Some studies suggest that water's structure can be influenced by sound, light, and even thought, although this remains a field of active exploration. Whether literal or metaphorical, the idea that water holds memory invites us to treat it with reverence and care, recognizing its vital role in sustaining life and connecting all beings. The cycles of water and life are inseparable. Plants depend on water's flow, animals drink from its pools, and humans build civilizations along its banks. Water's memory is reflected in the growth rings of trees, the migration paths of animals, the rhythms of rain and drought. It is a pulse that beats through ecosystems, tying past to present in an unbroken chain. This deep connection reminds us that we are part of a vast, living network, where every drop, every stream, every ocean is a thread in the fabric of life. So as you watch water move, whether in a bubbling brook, a gentle rain, or the vastness of the sea, remember its story. It is a story of memory and motion, of connection and change. Water flows through time, carrying with it the whispers of the world, inviting us to listen with open hearts. In its quiet presence, we find not only the history of the earth but the reflection of our own journeys, ever moving, ever remembering, ever becoming. Time is a river, flowing quietly beneath the surface of our lives, carrying moments as stones carried downstream. Though it cannot be seen or touched, its presence shapes everything. Our memories, our experiences, the cycles of nature itself. Time does not shout or rush. It moves gently, steadily, like the slow turning of the earth or the steady beat of a heart. It is a rhythm older than any clock, older than any calendar, flowing through every living thing and every moment that ever was. In this soft current, we live, change, and become. Imagine standing beside a lake at dawn. The water is still, reflecting the pale light and the soft colors of the sky. The silence feels deep, but beneath the surface the water remembers. Ripples from the night's breeze still linger, and the temperature carries the memory of yesterday's sun. Time, like water, holds memory in layers, moments overlapping, flowing into one another without beginning or end. Just as water shapes the stones in the stream, time shapes the moments of our lives, smoothing some, sharpening others, carving the path ahead. Our bodies, too, are tied to the rhythm of time. Inside, countless cycles govern our health and behavior. The rise and fall of hormones, the beating of the heart, the sleep-wake cycles that guide our days and nights. These biological rhythms are ancient, shared with creatures from the smallest insects to the tallest trees. Time is woven into our cells, a pulse that keeps us in harmony with the world. When these rhythms falter, we feel it in fatigue, in unrest, in a sense of being out of step. Living with time, rather than against it, brings balance and peace. The natural world speaks of time in countless ways. The changing seasons are its grandest song, spring's renewal, summer's fullness, autumn's shedding, winter's rest. Each season unfolds slowly, carrying memories of the last and promises of the next. Trees grow rings that tell tales of drought and rain, heat and cold, life and struggle. Animals migrate, following the invisible thread of time woven through the sky and earth. These patterns remind us that time is not just a measurement. It is a living cycle, a dance of continuity and change. Our minds, too, move through time in complex ways. Memory is a form of time travel, bringing the past into the present with vivid clarity or fading gently like a distant dream. Anticipation stretches moments forward, filling them with hope or fear. The brain's perception of time is flexible, speeding up when we are joyful and slowing down when we are afraid. This elasticity reveals how time is not fixed but experienced uniquely by each of us. The quiet pulse of time is both universal and deeply personal. Cultures across the world have honored time's mystery. Ancient calendars, festivals marking solstices and equinoxes, rituals aligning with moon phases, all reflect humanity's attempt to understand and live with time's flow. Many traditions teach patience, acceptance, and presence, reminding us that time is a gift to be cherished, not a resource to be wasted. In these teachings, we find wisdom for living fully within the gentle rhythm of life's unfolding. Even in moments of stillness, time moves. The pause between breaths, the silence between thoughts, the quiet space where presence arises, all are expressions of time's subtle dance. These moments teach us that time is not just what passes, but what holds us, carries us, connects us. It is the thread binding past, present, and future into a seamless whole. So as you sit quietly now, feel the gentle flow of time within and around you. Notice the rise and fall of your breath, the beating of your heart, the steady pulse of life itself. In this moment, you are moving with time's quiet current, part of a great river of existence that carries all things gently forward.